Welcome to my channel. I decided to make a video about my favorite finished works for the first 6 months of this year. I know that it's a little bit outdated, I do it in August, but well, better later than never. And I hope that this video will serve as an inspiration for myself, because sometimes I feel that I spend more time on easier pictures and I'm afraid to start more complicated projects. So let's start with Floribunda in somewhere in May probably. I finally returned to this book after a couple of years of total abandonment, and mostly I returned to it because in our challenge Color with Ukraine we had to color a picture with poppies. I remember that here we have loveliest composition with several poppies where I can test different color combos. From my previous experiences in this book, I realized that unlike Flower Year, on this paper I prefer Prismacolors. Polychromases are okay, but if you need to color flowers, Prismacolors give you more vibrant color. So everything here is done with Prismacolors and I am extremely happy. I know my long path to this level of botanical coloring because in the very beginning poppies were one of the most complicated flowers for me. They always look very flat. I never managed to show these folds on the thin petals, never enough shading to the central part. Now I think that they look relatively three-dimensional, especially those dark poppies. I was quite creative in color palette because I don't remember if I think that I saw those purple poppies, those yellow, orange and red. They are more traditional, at least in our area, but I decided that in such way it will be more interesting for myself to color them in different way, and besides this color combo I can also use for peonies. I think that they look lovely because I did quite nice difference between a lighter edge, where we have those curved edges of petals, and dark shadows between petals and in the center, so I am proud of this work. Next, I have picture from Ivy and Inky Butterfly. And among all the pictures which I did during the first 6 months of the year, as my favorite, I selected this one. Maybe not because of the final look, but because of the efforts which I put into this work. First, I really love this idea of hanging objects. I'm not sure that it's mine idea. I think that I saw something similar, maybe from other books by Johanna Basford, maybe those rooms or small pictures. I'm not sure, so I can't say that it's my creative idea. But the calculation how to do those shadows from all the objects in very complicated shapes, that was mine. And the background which I did with pencils and which still looks quite smooth, it also was mine. For me, it's the most complicated part. I can enjoy doing such objects because they are interesting to do. They have different colors, different textures, gemstones, gold, steel. It's interesting. But when I have to do the background, especially with pencils, it's not my favorite book, and especially when I need to do pencil background, I start to hate everything. But here, surprisingly, Arctic pencils were very helpful. They helped me to save my Prismacolors because I would totally run out of my old favorite beige and brown colors, and they even blended quite well here. You can see that I managed to cover background around all those objects and shadows without visible pencil strokes. Somewhere at this moment of time I decided that if it's possible I will try to decorate all text areas with my stencils and with my distress inks. I have two colors, but they were quite helpful for the whole book. I use them everywhere, sometimes with stars, sometimes with dots, and It somehow helps to unite the background image and the text area, and illustration looks more finished probably. So I think that it was one of the longest and more difficult coloring in this book, because I had to repeat the shapes of all those hanging objects, and not only objects but also all those chains, ribbons. I think that's the only area where I totally ran out of patience. It's behind this necklace. It doesn't have shadow. I know, but well, I think that I can allow myself to skip at least one element. I started from the right side, so here shadows are more detailed. On the left, well, so, but still, it's definitely a picture which I am proud of, and I think that it's one of the most original in the whole book. Next, it's Symphony book by Kanoko Yagusa, where I absolutely love pictures and where I appreciate smaller size of them. Since the moment when I got the book, I wanted to do those shelves, and I immediately knew that I want to use this white, red and blue, very classic color combo for all the tableware here. But I had to select something as a complementary color, because it would be too much to color all them. All cups, all jars with the same color combo. So in the end, when I decided that one pastel color like this blush pink and one natural color like artichoke here or bronze, they would be very complementary to the several bright elements. On each of the shelf I decided to do several bright elements and the rest more pale. But here there are other elements of which I am proud. How I did this weathered line, and it still look white but with shadow, especially on top. How I did those glass objects. So I am not very often totally proud of my works, but this one I love 100%. On the left side, I have my shameful work in progress. Why shameful? Because I started it in the end of February. I thought that I do this quick underpaint with watercolors, and in March, when spring flowers start to bloom, I will do the rest of this page. I wanted to test how pencils work on the watercolor underpaint. If you ask me why I hadn't finished it, I have no idea. I love how I started it. I love the whole flower. Maybe in August or September I finally return to this one, because I love to have finished spreads, even if pictures are not connected by the subject, but still it bothers me now when I look. So it's totally unexplainable. Something distracted me. I did another project. Someone asked me to do something else, and well, I moved, and after this one I did several pictures in this book and never returned to this one. Well, it's a good reminder that I need to finish it. Next picture I selected not only because I love the final look of this picture and I really think that it's one of the best, but also because for me it's a symbol of great return. When I just started to color, I colored a lot in Hana Carson and books, and especially in Magical Dawn, but then maybe for 3 years I hadn't touched them at all. I think that my style had changed, that my skills are very rusted, both with watercolors and with coloring in Hana Carson book. I still don't know if I want to mask lines, if I want to continue coloring with watercolors and pencils together. It's like I forgot everything I knew about her books. But then I did a couple of pictures with crowns. My favorite is in Magical Dawn. I called it the Spring Crown. I think that it's lovely. At least it demonstrated me that I hadn't forgot completely how to do watercolor backgrounds. Here traditionally I combined regular watercolors and then several pearl-shant shiny paints to make it more magical. I used pastel colors, but similar to the colors of the crown, so they are less intense, but they support similar colors on the crown. Gold, it's easy for me to color. How to incorporate those flowers, it was a little bit more challenging. I deliberately tried to stay in very light pastel colors, everything which I connect in my head with colors of spring, delicate pink, lavender, lilac colors. My favorite element is this round gemstone surrounded by pearls. I think that it looks lovely and quite realistic, so I'm quite proud of this one, and that I finally did at least something decent in Hana Carson after many years of abandonment. Book which I would love to color from the beginning until the end, but unfortunately book for which I never have enough time. But at least works which I did here during first months, they all were lovely, so it was difficult to select which one I prefer more. In the end, I decided that I will select Romeo and Juliet, and maybe not because of the main heroes. They are okay, and it was interesting to select combined colors, imagining how the Italian Renaissance dresses were made, maybe a little bit of silk, a little bit of velvet. So it was interesting, but most of all, I am proud here of the background. And you know that I am not very experienced with markers, but I think that here I managed to do my best. First, I love those colors which I selected for marble, not traditional gray or light blue, but with this grayish purple undertone. I think that it's really very suitable for this atmosphere of the early morning, which I did with light shades of markers on the sky. I think that it's their parting moment early in the morning, so I wanted to show that that's what we have here. And all the shading here, first with markers and with pencils, well, I tried to do my best to make it three-dimensional, so background probably was more challenging. Main heroes I did quickly, so that's why I selected it into my top list. The second one I selected not because of the background, even if background is good, and again markers helped me to create a perfect frame, but here I love how I did skin, and especially on this thin cheap paper, it's a challenge for me, but I think that here she looks lovely. And another biggest discovery for me was that I can actually color with Arctic pencils here. They helped me to create this beautiful color on the fabric, and yeah, I was happy that cheap pencils, they can work on this paper. Also, another big discovery was that if I use watercolor paints very carefully with tiny amount of water and maybe on pencil underpaint, I can add them here, because first I did those wings with a light layer of Prismacolors, those blue lake, pink colors, but I wanted them to be more magical, more shiny, so on top of the pencil I added pearlescent paints, and now they definitely look quite magical, very suitable for the fairy. And final element which I love here is her fantasy hair. For me to do something fantasy is difficult. Usually my hair are brown, sky is blue and leaves are green, so every time when I go out of my comfort zone, I feel proud of myself. So here I love her skin, I love her wings, and I love her dress. Next picture in this list, it's a little bit of cheating because I actually did it in July and we talk about first half of the year, but I still decided to include it simply because I love my squirrel. It's my July recent work. I think that everything here looks lovely. I managed to maintain balance between more simplified shapes, which I decided to leave as they are, like those acorns, leaves, which are really very simple, and realistic things like this pearl necklace, gemstones, or fur on the squirrel. That's why I love books by Emily Lindehol Oberg, so you can color them in more simple way, you can turn them into something more realistic, and pictures still look very nice. And finally, of course, I had to include Kerberazana's works in this list because maybe they are even my total favorites. Together with Colorless Kingdom, I decided that my favorites for now are this bird with unusual background. Again, maybe not because of the bird, because for me it's easy to color feathers, to color such landscapes. I just looked at reference pictures of beautiful Japanese temples and I knew that this color combo of deep red, gold and turquoise green colors, it always looks very spectacular and that I want to use it here. So that was easy. But the sky, especially sky done with pencils, for me it's always challenging. Here I decided to work with my gouache paints. I have Arteza gouache with quite lovely colors, but I don't use it as often as I would love to. I'm a little bit afraid. Here I used gouache mostly for masking lines, but it still works magic. Clouds really started to look fluffy, and in the same time, even with this intense color for the sky, it doesn't distract attention from the bird, so I think that it looks very well balanced. And the second picture which I selected, it's my spread battle between winter and spring. Here I spent a long time on it, but surprisingly I enjoyed every moment, even doing the background with pencils. I did long breaks between elements because something was easy for me, like coloring castles and reindeer and deer. I looked at reference pictures to try to find different color combo for the fur for the summer deer and how to turn the second one more into reindeer with different brown for the fur with white patches of skin with more thick antlers. I tried to also show this idea of winter and spring colors on the castle walls, on the bricks. Well, grass it was and other areas it was more complicated, especially how to do transition from the winter background into the spring one. So I think that those long breaks were quite beneficial. I wasn't rushing up progress on this page. When I had this coloring block, I stopped, I tried to think, I moved slowly, and I am proud of this spread. To show better the idea of spring, I added some colorful flowers here. Here I decided to color all leaves in shades of blue, again to emphasize the idea of winter, so that's definitely one of my best works. Even now when I look at it, I don't know how I gathered courage to start such a spread and to finish it. So I think that I will put this one on top of my favorite lists. Well, I hope that you loved at least some of these works. Thank you for watching, and I hope that somewhere in December I will do another video, and during the last 6 months of this year I also managed to do something decent in my coloring books. Thank you for watching, and until the next videos.